Awesome. So, yeah, we're live with episode 62 of the Help Find the Others podcast. And this is a Cryptocast. So we brought on our good friend from the Discord server and previous episodes, Ridgeback. How you doing, man?
Really good, really good. I appreciate you guys having me on again. This is a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, we text back and forth on the Discord a lot, but I always like, actually having a conversation with you too. So
for sure.
There's definitely, plenty to talk about. First off, how are your pandemic chickens doing?
Oh yeah, they're doing well. They're now kicking out eggs, and I went on the hunt for one of them last night because she disappeared. Normally they roost, at nighttime, and I only counted 3, and I ran around looking for number 4 and didn't find her. And this morning she was out with the other 4, so I don't know where she went. but I do have eggs now, so I'm happy.
Yeah,
they're doing great.
Do they climb up in the trees on you? Is that where maybe she went? I know that chickens do that. I was surprised to find that out, but.
I do have a lot of trees around me, so it's possible she did because I went through all of her little hiding spots and she wasn't around. So she probably hid up in a tree somewhere. I need to clip their wings.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're doing great and they're doing awesome. So just built a greenhouse, so we're gonna have fresh vegetables here in the next couple of months. So it should be good.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing about this time that I love seeing. I love seeing people not freaking out and just working and investing in themselves and their self-sufficiency. Yeah. And I think there's going to be a lot of urban farmers and, chicken owners coming out of this. And I think that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I had read an article probably good 20 years ago about, it was a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but this guy said that, if the government couldn't control you with money or control you with extreme taxation or whatever, they would control you with protein control. And he said chickens were the way to go. And I don't know if that's really ever going to pan out. But in the first couple of weeks of the coronavirus, if you go to Walmart, and I have pictures of this that I took myself, the meat aisle was empty.
Yeah.
And, so, I mean, these things could happen. These things could happen. So I figure 4 chickens is just barely enough to keep me and my fiance alive until something better comes along.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, and honestly, I've wanted to raise chickens since before I was worried that there was going to be a food shortage. I mean, it's like a good idea. It's, I mean, like my family eats a lot of eggs too, and I don't even think we eat as much as I know people are like they have like a 8-egg omelet for breakfast every day, stuff like that. It's like if you're going through that many eggs, you should probably be raising those animals yourself.
Exactly. And for anyone listening who is interested in raising chickens, they're super easy. They take care of themselves. You just have to feed them. And I just feed them twice a day in a little dish, just like a dog. They run up to me. They're real friendly. I call their names. They're all named, which is really dumb, but whatever. And they come up, and you can pet them and whatnot. And just make sure you wash your hands because they do carry salmonella. So, but other than that, they're just kind of like a feathered dog. And it's great. It's good stuff.
Yeah. No, it's super cool, man.
Yeah, I really like them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess speaking of farming, the hot buzz in crypto right now is yield farming and all wrapped up in this thing called DeFi. And I've read some about it, but I wanted to like get your take on it and have a little discussion on like kind of what that means for the market and how this plays into the cycle and everything.
Sure. So, DeFi, decentralized finance, and all it really refers to is very smart people writing smart contracts on whatever blockchain they can write on, which mirror traditional finance products, lending, borrowing, margin type stuff, liquidity for swapping tokens, and 1,000 other random weird variations. And this DeFi stuff is taking off, just wildfire. And yield farming is a tactic in which individuals can monitor these smart contracts for the best rates of interest gained on a token, and they will rapidly switch between one yield to another yield, and they will go back and forth very, very rapidly. You can't do it manually. You have to pretty much do it with code. So these guys monitor these pools, and whatever signals they have or intelligence that they've gathered, they can switch quickly, gain 20, 30% here, switch quickly, gain 30, 40% here. And these guys are getting 100% yield on their farming, which is just crazy to consider that's even possible. And then they rapidly move that back into Bitcoin, and then cash, when they cash out, they're cashing out into Bitcoin, not into fiat. Mm-hmm. And it's a crazy time right now, and it smells exactly of the 2016, 2017 ICO boom. So if it goes that way, expect a huge rise like it's going now, and then expect a giant pop. And then a drop. And you'll lose everything.
Yeah, I mean that's what I thought about all of it. Is if you look at the coin from Yearn Finance, the Wi-Fi coin, where it's like it's making like $3,000 a day or
it's
whatever,
crazy.
and it's like everyone's like, oh yeah, you're stupid if you think it isn't going to 100,000, and you're stupid if you don't think it's not going to be 1 million and whatever. It's like I've heard that before,
Yes.
And it's just like you said with the ICO craze, that was this promise that this is this new thing that you can invest in companies at the ground floor like an IPO, except they're not public and you own it and it's a functional piece of the company. And it was this new thing that the sky was the limit, and you were getting it on the ground floor. And people made a lot of money on ICOs.
Oh yeah, tons.
The first people, but it's as it just became the Ponzi scheme, exit scam, whatever terms they always put in there, and the yield farming kind of method that people are doing right now, and saying it's DeFi, it's the new decentralized finance. This is how finance is going to work. Well, first off, it's not a new idea, because like a lot of that stuff, I mean, wouldn't you say that if you think back to the last alt season boom in 2017 or whatever, wasn't like something like salt lending? Wouldn't that be considered DeFi? This isn't a new thing that people have tried to use blockchain for. And on top of that, everything else like Link and ETH are like doing really good because people are buying them, because that's what you need to do the yield farming, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess the main technical difference between back then and now is back then you would buy the token, and then you would spend that token to gain access to whatever services they would provide. And if you go through that entire ICO craze back then, no services were ever built. I think Len, like you said, salt lending, they were probably one of the only ones that actually survived all of that actually had an actual product that worked. But nowadays it's smart contracts. So they have a smart contract that you push whatever coin that you already own. You may already have a bag of DAI or Psi or 0x or BAT or whatever, and you shoot that coin or one of those coins or all of those coins into the smart contract to lend to them, and then they will issue you interest back, usually in that coin, and then as an incentive, they may also issue you back some of their platform coin, like a Yearn or MakerDAO or whatever little side chain coin that they've built, and as just kind of a on top of the cake for giving them your crypto. And there's a giant risk with this stuff because there's the smart contract is just written by people, and people make errors logically in the code. And there was I'm trying to think of who it was, but I think it was Uniswap. Just recently had a logical flaw in one of their smart contracts, and when a person would put their money in, there was like a certain amount of time between the money in and then the money would move that you could sneak in and swipe it. So there was that, and they fixed that. Or a smart contract just could be flat out. They deploy a smart contract with a known or an intentionally applied vulnerability. And these smart contracts, when they're deployed, they're permanently stuck on these blockchains. They can't be yanked back out. And then the other thing is like a flash crash or a surge that causes like liquidation. If you're doing like shorting of a particular asset, you can get liquidated like instantly just by an accidental flash crash or surge. And if the smart contract doesn't have the correct buffers applied, or someone's playing games on a small chain with low market cap, you'll get burned very, very rapidly. But I do think that there are some positives that are coming out of this. In particular, when people develop these DeFi tools, we as the people kind of watching this stuff very closely are going to learn what works and don't work, and then bigger companies are going to see that as well and drag those into their offerings. I see these things being copied in the future by bigger companies, and especially if central digital currencies developed by the United States, I think they will take these DeFi methodologies and smart contract type things. I think they'll just steal the ideas and use them as well. And I think it might be kind of interesting if they do make a central digital dollar, and you would literally burn the banks because everyone would be a liquidity provider, everyone would be a lender, and I think that would be kind of neat. When you need a house loan, everyone in the United States dishes out 0.012 pennies, everyone, and you get your house loan, then you smart contract pays it back. So these DeFi things, they're in their infancy, but they do have some really interesting I don't know how to explain it. It's just a very interesting space to see what's going to shake out and see what comes out of this. Right now, it's still cowboys and Indians, and there's going to be a lot of people losing money, but there's going to be a lot of people making a ton of money. And
I mean, these things they make money until they don't, and then
they don't.
You don't want to be the last sucker in the
right.
In the door holding the bags for everyone. And
exactly.
That's what happened with ICOs. I mean, and there was some great development that came out of ICOs, and there'll be, like you said, great development that comes out of DeFi. But the whole thing, and it just all, like you said, they're cashing out into Bitcoin, and it really I have to keep reminding myself as I'm reading about this and feeling like I'm missing out because I haven't got on Uniswap or anything, just kind of stuck to my guns of dollar cost averaging and holding what I think is legitimate, blue chip kind of cryptos. But it's like, there is going to be something that comes out of it. It's not all just a scam. It's just like you said, Wild West, so you can get scammed pretty easy.
Absolutely.
But a lot of it has just reminded me that, like, honestly, Bitcoin is the only decentralized finance we really need. Like, obviously there's going to be other things around it, but it hasn't hurt my view of Bitcoin. It scares me of, because this is what happened with ICOs, where like you needed ETH to get in on the ICO and get, the low first price. And so everyone was buying ETH at no matter what it cost because you were just turning it right away into this ICO token. And that's what people are doing with all this stuff right now. And it scares me of like, where I'm like watching my, Ethereum portfolio go up and like, oh, this is great, but it's like, maybe I should take this profit because I feel like it's going to crash as soon as people, stop doing that.
Yeah, I feel that since crypto is global, it's also very easy to deploy, relatively easy to deploy a smart contract, which is really just a product that because of that ease, people are going to jump on it, and they're going to think that they're going to make a lot of money. So, for example, anyone could write a smart contract today, right now, deploy it on the Ethereum blockchain very cheaply. We're talking like a couple of dollars or maybe $10 or whatever, and build a flashy website and say, hey, blah, blah coin will give you 25% back on your stuff over a year. And they can get a ton of input capital in the form of whatever token that they want to work on that smart contract. Maybe it's 0x, right? And they get millions of dollars of 0x and then immediately exit scams. That's entirely possible for anyone right now to do that. And I'm surprised there aren't more of that going on. One of the big Empire Market Empire Market exit scam the other day. It took however multi-millions of dollars of Bitcoin with them when they exit scammed. These things definitely happen. So, I was asked the other day by my fiance's father, who's very well off and knows markets, and he's a CPA, and he was asking me, he said, well, yes, we have Bitcoin, but why can't anyone just make their own little crypto? And I'm like, people do all the time. And I said, the main defining factor between Bitcoin with its 20,000 nodes and multi-tera hashes of hashing power is that versus the two nodes that a 15-year-old put together in a ERC20 token. That's the difference. And even a pretty large network like Ethereum Classic had a 51% attack just today or yesterday, and funds were liquidated. So even pretty decent sized blockchains can get wrecked pretty bad. And now we see these little tiny tokens pop out, and you have no idea what's behind them, what's servicing them at all. You have zero view into their network. One token that comes to mind is Algorand. It's booming. It's booming right now. If you bought some, you're probably going to make some sort of money on it. But I can't find for the life of me the node list. Bitcoin, you can find a node list. This guy has no node list. I can't find it anywhere. It could be running on some guy's laptop in the middle of the Ukraine. I have no idea what's going on with that thing. Yeah. So if someone knows, let me know. I've Googled and I can't find it. But you should be able to find the node list. You should be able to know what's going on in these networks. And I feel a lot of these fly-by-night DeFi things are going to burn people very, very badly. And it's going to be ugly when it happens. And only the people holding onto their Bitcoin will survive that, because this DeFi stuff doesn't really exist on Bitcoin specifically. It's all on the Ethereum or other blockchains.
Now, do you think, when that bubble pops, and I mean that could run for 6 months, a year.
Still, I think it'll last a year. Yeah. I think it'll last a year.
Do you think that Bitcoin will fall with it? Obviously, I mean, not for good, but I mean, do you see a major correction coming in Bitcoin just tied to the DeFi bubble?
No, not really. It seems to be the correlation with other assets in the world. It seems to be correlating about 65% with gold right now. So people are jumping off of their fiats into gold and into Bitcoin. So I'm seeing Bitcoin being used as more of a hedge against inflation, and then Ethereum and these DeFi products as more of a quick money making scam. I don't really see the alt market, if it crashed down to zero, I don't really see Bitcoin dumping with. I think it might do a little bounce, but it's not gonna drop the 90% like these coins like Yearn. One day that thing's just gonna go to zero, or maybe it'll go to $1,000, but it's at 30,000 now.
Yeah.
So I don't see Bitcoin really caring if it drops at all.
Yeah. Well, and I saw it like Binance is starting leveraged margin trading for shorting Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's a matter of time till
exactly
that just becomes fuckery like that. But exactly. It's also like one thing I wanted to say I forgot when I was saying about how like some stuff will come out of these products that are being developed and stuff like that. There's legitimate projects. And the finance world will have to adapt.
Yes.
I don't think it will topple it, much like I don't really think that Bitcoin will topple the banks. It will force them to adapt or survive. The lending world is the same way with DeFi. I love the scenario that you painted of where everybody's lending everybody.
Yes.
But I think that is a little idealistic. I think there will always be, lenders and institutions that's how they make their money. But what I don't think, and this is what people need to realize, like if you're making money on DeFi and you're not married to any of these projects, that's great. And you don't get greedy and you get out with the profit. That's awesome, especially if you take it into Bitcoin. Sure. However, like if anyone finds himself like thinking this is the future of finance, it's like, I really don't think that, people that, have a wealth manager or, a financial advisor, they're going to be like, listen, you need more yams and you got to trade those for sushis. Okay. That it's just, you got to like stop and look at the situation and be like, okay, I'm putting half of my net worth into something that has a ticker symbol that is literally a picture of a yam. Like this is probably not the future,
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. This is absolutely the global testing ground for very fascinating financial output, products and things that are just really, really interesting. And it's also, when you look at banks that want to kick out some sort of interesting product, or you look at hedge fund managers or people with a lot of money who want to kick out some sort of really interesting product, they have to go through the SEC or the CFTC and takes years to get approval, and people pick it apart, and they end up getting only a piece of what their real dream was. Well, now anyone could write a smart contract today and click deploy, and boom, you get to prove out your theory. You get to test it out, see how it works. If it doesn't work, okay, whatever. And that's it. That's the lost. That is it. That's all there is to it, or it works really, really good, and they take that to market. So I think it's a really neat place to develop future systems that can rapidly bypass the crushingly old and antiquated banking system that we're still using in 2020 today. I mean, it still takes days to get a money transfer, which is just insane. We're shooting our voice across the internet and we're like 20 milliseconds apart, and they can't figure out how to move money, that fast. But we did. The people did, build Bitcoin and Ethereum and so forth. We figured it out, and as a team, and it works. It works very well. So I'm optimistic, but I don't put much into the DeFi. I dabble in it. $50 here, $50 there, and if I lose it, I don't care.
I mean, another thing is that I was thinking of how it could be good for Bitcoin is that it's bringing fresh retail interest into crypto, and the people that get out with their shirt still, or the people that don't invest what they invest what they can afford to lose it, and go, what the fuck game was I just playing that I got gamed here? And they'll figure it out, and they'll end up into Bitcoin, and I think that's what I see happening. I think there'll be, a bubble pop correction. Bitcoin will bounce harder than everything else, just like what we saw, in the same part of this cycle last time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'll bring people into these interesting little crypto games, and in the end, you always hear the mantra of exit to Bitcoin, trade out to Bitcoin, and I think that will just be a constant, a constant thread in all of this, and I like that, and a lot of there's a lot of wrapped BTC on Ethereum, so people are moving Bitcoin on Ethereum with the stuff called wrapped BTC, and there's a lot of Bitcoin on Ethereum. So what that allows you to do is, on the Ethereum network where all these DeFi assets are taking place, it makes it easy to or easier for a smart contract to issue Bitcoin, which is really, really kind of nice. And you want that exit to Bitcoin. You don't want exit to some random coin. The second best thing would just be exit to Ethereum and then immediately convert it into Bitcoin before that entire DeFi thing crashes on you. But if you look at the on-chain analysis for Bitcoin and for Ethereum for their entire life cycle, 89% of Bitcoiners that are holders are profitable. 89%. And it's only 75% for Ethereum. And that's just the Ethereum. The other tokens are probably way worse, or actually, I'm certain they're way worse. Bitcoin's where it's at. And keep moving that way. So yeah, I think it'll just benefit Bitcoin. And I also look forward to people taking these really interesting products that do work on the standard DeFi, Ethereum, whatever ecosystem, and the really, really interesting ones, they will write side chains for Bitcoin and absorb all of that capability. That's not a problem. We already have there's a Bitcoin sidechain called Liquid that's crazy fast, and obviously we have a Lightning Network that could also do these things. So Bitcoin is just a giant absorbing behemoth that can take all these things eventually. And that now, if they turned around and it said, if I have a half a Bitcoin in a wallet that I lend out to a lender, and it just rolls around immediately, and I can see returns and so forth at 6, 7, 10, 20%. That might be pretty interesting, because if it's a smart contract on the Bitcoin network, you could probably guarantee that it's legit. Although, like I said earlier, you could still have logic failures or maybe it's hacked. But Bitcoin seems to be the platform where the smartest developers in the world tend to migrate, and also the largest amount of testing. If you notice on Bitcoin, major jumps and changes only happen every so many years, whereas Ethereum and all these other ones are constantly kicking something out. So while the development might be faster on those, they make a lot more errors. And Bitcoin goes very slow. They're very conservative in their movement.
Yeah. No, and it's a concept you've put forth on the Discord before that I've thought about, and where you're really right that it's made me realize that, like, Bitcoin will become this like gelatinous layer of the internet that just represents global value, and it's not, everyone's like, oh, will it be the reserve currency? There doesn't have to be a Bretton Woods agreement where countries are like, the new reserve currency is Bitcoin. It'll just become that anyway, and I keep telling people that are like, it's not a currency because it's not backed by a country or whatever. And it's like, the term currency, yes, it's a currency because you can exchange a unit of value with it. It's a currency of that layer of the internet. But as far as being a currency, like what we consider, like you pay your taxes in it, and the government accepts it for, fines, whatever. Like, no, it's not that. It may be in the future, but I think it's more like a piece of real estate. It's the new land, if you can look at it as, 11,000, whatever it is right now, 11,500 or whatever. That is not the price per coin. That's the price per acre. And there's only 21 million acres that are ever going to be around.
Exactly.
And some of them, you can't even have anymore. So it's like there's less than 21 million. So, but it's land that you can sell very easy. Like, if I had a piece of land, I can't, buy a car from someone for a tenth of an acre, and so it's this thing that like encompasses everything, and that's why it's so hard for people to put their finger on. And like there's, I think part of the like altcoin hype cycle is everyone feels, the FOMO or the fear of missing out of Bitcoin when it really starts to run, and everyone's looking for the next Bitcoin. And that's the real big realization I've come to in the past couple of years, is like there isn't like there is so much critical mass behind Bitcoin that there isn't a next Bitcoin. There's just what is going to work with it the best,
Exactly. And look at all the hardware that's being developed and still being deployed all over the world. That article you posted about the natural gas company, they're switching to Bitcoin, or at least making Bitcoin mining a big piece of their business, because they can power these miners. So they understand that. And I think the people, we're still early on, even though there's only a couple million Bitcoin need to be mined left. It's still going to take 120 years to do that. And if they're land grabbing now, in 10 years, it's going to be crazy. The Winklevoss twins, the guys who own the Gemini exchange, they had a article just a couple days ago about the case for $500,000 per Bitcoin, and like soon, not like in a year, but in less than 5-10 years, somewhere in that range, which is fantastic. I mean, that would be pretty stunning. For that to happen, and grabbing some land now will certainly pan out. And Jerome Powell, the Fed chief, just had that speech just a couple of days ago, and he said they're unlocking the inflation controls. So the inflation controls were right at 2%, and they said that they're going to let them rise to as high as, I think, like 2.4, 2.5%, somewhere around there. And when taxation started in the early 1900s, the federal income tax started, they said it would never raise above 3%, and now look at us. And so when the government says we're going to unlock something at a particular percentage rate, and it's not going to go any higher than this, I don't believe them. Once you get to 2.4 or 2.5%, why wouldn't you go to 3%? And then why wouldn't you go to 3.5%? And just slowly, you don't know, it could be logarithmically increasing. It could be 10% in a year and a half. And that's a big deal. That's a big problem. And people will start doing capital flight.
I think the smart money already is, and I think that's what you were talking about with gold, and the whole stock to flow ratio comes into play and everything. Where I think smart money, they aren't going to buy Wi-Fi and YAM. They're buying Bitcoin, and that's why like the oil company is investing in Bitcoin mining. Now there's another thing that story points out that made me realize is that for as much as I believe Bitcoin plays a pivotal role in the future of finance and just global economics, I think it actually is going to play a huge role and a pivotal role in the energy and utility industries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this oil company isn't going to, for anyone that didn't read the article, it's not that they're going to divert some of their or like increase their energy output to Bitcoin mine. It's that they're, instead of, when you drive past an oil refinery and you see the flare up in the air, and it's just all it is heat, it's energy,
right?
You know, it's excess energy, and all it's doing is just making a fire, right? Well, they're going to take that energy and use it to mine Bitcoin to make money for themselves, but you know, it creates another node. It secures the network even more, and in fact, that node is secured by a multi-billion-dollar company. So it's like they're gonna, you know, gonna be a pretty secure node. But this is what's going on in other countries. They're not increasing their energy output. It isn't. I've heard from like a lot of hippies and stuff. You know, like my hippie friends that you know, shit on Bitcoin and hate money and stuff like this. That they'll say, you know, oh, it's just increasing, you know, greenhouse gas output and increasing climate change, and that's not the case. It's actually making our energy production systems more efficient by monetizing the excess energy.
Yeah, and also the individuals who run these giant mines that take megawatts of power, they're not going to the expensive energy providers. They're going to the super cheap ones, and the super cheap ones are usually the renewable ones, like hydroelectric and solar and so forth. So, you know, they're actually helping increase the revenues of companies who do renewable resources, especially in China. And, you know, a lot of the mining is in China, and a lot of it is actually in Russia, of all places. And they're very big into renewable type, you know, hydroelectric and solar and so forth. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm not a big fan of the argument that it's taking too much electricity to run it. I think if you look at all the Google and Facebook data centers across the world, they waste way more energy pushing Facebook posts and stuff around the world than Bitcoin ever will. I think a single Facebook data center would have hundreds and hundreds of megawatts all over the place. I actually did the calculation on the energy cost for a single post on Facebook, and it was quite expensive. It was quite expensive in terms of energy, and I can't remember the exact figures. I'd have to take it back out again. But you look at the billions of Facebook posts a day. Those require a couple thousand watts of laptop power and electricity and all that. And I'm sure most people's laptops stay on all day long anyway. And your mobile phones are always on. It's a supercomputer in your pocket, and it's always on. And the billion mobile phones we have out there are churning way more energy than Bitcoin. I'm not worried about that.
I even saw, and maybe you had posted the article, but I even saw an article about some dairy farm in New Zealand or something like that. That they were capturing methane from the cows that would normally just, go away like a fart in the wind, literally. Exactly. But they were converting that into a Bitcoin miner and using that revenue to keep their food costs low. And it's like those are the kind of parts that, like, it's hard to understand the mining. It's hard to describe it. But once people get it, they really see how it's not a drag on the system. It's a way to improve the system, And I mean, like, even I've heard in, like, I think Iceland and stuff like that, like there is government buildings using Bitcoin miners as revenue, but also to heat the buildings.
Heck yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know if I lived in a cold area and I had cheap electricity, I'd have a bunch of S9 amp miners running, and there's no reason why not. That would be fantastic. I actually ran an S9 amp miner for about a day here, and they're extraordinarily loud. So, because they have these giant fans on them, so you would need, the only issue is make sure you keep that noise away. But yeah, they are pretty neat.
Yeah.
That whole the innovation of energy conversion into money, or energy conversion from waste into money, is only going to get better. And I think people will find more and more novel ways to look at their energy waste and see if they can collect it. And then you turn that into some variation of crypto, some sort of money. You may not be able to make Bitcoin, but you can mine a cheaper chain or whatever, and just and get some output from that. And I think that would be a pretty fascinating thing in the next 20, 30 years, where businesses are able to provide products cheaper because they're able to mine their own crypto and then cut the costs. And now you and I get cheaper food or cheaper cars or whatever, because they don't have to sell it for a massive profit, or they can cut their profits down, because if they're competing, the cheaper price wins, right? If you have to buy a car and it's $10,000 cheaper because they mined that amount of crypto at the factory, collecting energy from car building operations, and why not pass that on to the purchasers or the customers? And I could see that catching on somehow, and that would be pretty neat. That'd be pretty fantastic.
Yeah. So Stan said we got a question. I'll read it off here. It's from Joseph Rashid. Hey, Ruben, I know very little about crypto. My main interest is if it's worth investing money in crypto and how it's different than stocks. Well, so, I mean, first off, obviously, I feel it's worth investing money in crypto, but it's you can't go into it blind. It takes research. The biggest thing is don't invest money that you can lose, because it is very volatile. We're just getting started. I mean, even though Bitcoin's been around 10 years, that's very young for an asset class, right? And it's very touchy. A tweet from a wrong tweet from the wrong person, or a right tweet from the right person can drastically alter the US dollar value of whatever crypto you have. But that being said, I think we're really still in the early stages, and it's all speculation, just like stocks are. But I think there's a lot more room to grow in the crypto space, where stocks, if you read any sort of stock analysis right now, everybody's like, this is going to crash any day. It shouldn't be going up, especially if you're talking American stock market, that
the current one,
the economy is complete fucking shit. But the stock market, which is completely disconnected from Main Street at this point, Wall Street and Main Street are in two different universes. And so, I had a friend the other day who was like, I think I'm going to buy a share of Amazon. One share. That's what he was going to do. And he was like, I think that's a good way to invest. And I was trying to get him to buy Bitcoin instead, but he I think he just decided to not invest money. And it was like it's just kind of funny that someone would think that to me, like, oh man, the stock market, it's all time high, I got to get in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just kind of crazy.
I believe that the crypto world is still extraordinarily young, and there's a lot to be shaken out. And Bitcoin was the one which started it all. It's also the strongest. It's also the most mature and has the best development going for it. And while this isn't investing advice at all, if you're new to it, just put small pocket change into Bitcoin, and then use it. Play with it. It's okay to buy it one day and then use it that exact same day, right? If you want to play with $10 of Bitcoin, buy $10 of Bitcoin and use it. So I'll show you my very first time with Bitcoin was years and years and years ago. My parents, they do a lot of like arts and crafts, and I told them, why don't you sell that stuff online, right? And they're like, all right, well, let's give it a try. So there's a tool called Open Bazaar, and it's a little app that you can run on your computer. And it was a decentralized market, not a dark market where drugs and stuff, but there's a little bit of that on there. But anyone can open a storefront and sell it. Back then, you could buy Bitcoin with a credit card right through their interface. So I remember buying a little bit of Bitcoin and taking my wallet on my phone and then zapping that Bitcoin from Open Bazaar into my phone and seeing it pop up in 10 minutes and looking at my mom and my dad and smiling, going, check that out. Wasn't that cool? And they had never seen money move like that before. I mean, we're all used to writing checks and, stupid money transfers and stupid stuff like that. And I thought that was just like the most awesomest thing in the world. And, my dad just kind of, yeah, whatever. And he disappeared. But my mom, on the other hand, she bought Bitcoin. And she still has that Bitcoin. And she's laughing like I am because we were buying it at $500 a Bitcoin, and it's now 11,600. Mm-hmm. So, and she uses that Bitcoin. She's always joking about, she'll go online and buy her arts and crafts stuff, and she'll always go for a vendor who will use Bitcoin. And Overstock.com, they'll take like 40 cryptos. They don't care. Mm-hmm. So here's how I recommend people play with crypto. Buy a little bit and then buy something with it. Get used to how the mechanism works. If you're just trying to get rich, the only guaranteed way is to buy with a dollar cost average over time and then never use it. But you kind of lose the magic of playing with it and seeing, how it works. It's kind of like buying a sports car and never driving it. So dollar cost average, stash it away, put it on a hardware wallet. Do not leave it on the exchange. Put it in a hardware wallet like a Ledger, Ledger Nano X, any of those. And there's a bunch of hardware wallets out there. And then buy some to play with. Play with the Lightning Network on Bitcoin, which is really cool. Bitcoin has a 10-minute block time, which means it takes about 10 minutes to get your crypto moved. Well, Lightning is like a microsecond, and it's crazy fast, and it's super anonymous. So that's what I would do, and I would absolutely 100% do not chase these stupid pump and dump shitcoin tokens. Or like, hey, this thing's going up 1,000% a day. Don't buy any of that stuff. Completely ignore it. If you're new to it, ignore it. If you're an advanced trader or if you're someone who's following it for years and years and years, yeah, whatever. But if you're new to it, completely ignore all of those. Don't follow them on their feeds because they're professional at what they do, which is making money off of people like yourself who want to give them money. Yep. They are making money, not you. So yeah, stick with Bitcoin, buy it, and then use it. Blue Wallet is a great wallet for your phone that does Bitcoin and Lightning. So you buy your Bitcoin on Coinbase, shoot it over to Blue Wallet, and then from Blue Wallet you move it into the Lightning wallet that's on the Blue Wallet. And so you basically convert your Bitcoin to a Lightning Bitcoin in that wallet. It doesn't cost anything. And then you can zap your Bitcoin around using Lightning. And a lot of exchanges like Bitfinex, they have a Lightning node. And so if you want to trade Bitcoin super fast, you just connect your wallet via Lightning to Bitfinex Lightning node, and you can pop your Bitcoin in and out instantly. And it's like it's amazing. It is a giant upgrade for Bitcoin. And other coins like Ethereum and sort, they don't have this at all. They don't have it at all. This is only a Bitcoin thing. So that's what I would do, Joseph.
Yeah, I've been telling people the app I've been suggesting for people that are like, okay, all right, I got to buy this stuff now. Is Square Cash. I really, their interface is stupid simple, and once people play with it, like you said, like I've had people where I'm like, set up the wallet. You can call me. I'll walk you through it. Send me your address. I'll send you $10 of Bitcoin. You can either send it back, or you can sit there and watch it grow to $15 and watch it grow to whatever. Exactly. You could do whatever. But once you see the interface, like when people say wallet and stuff like that, like some people were like, oh, I don't know all these apps and stuff. Like there's too many apps. Well, if you can Venmo or Zelle or any of these, fiat transfers, PayPal, Square Cash is the same thing, except it's Bitcoin. And I also, I definitely preach the dollar cost averaging of like whatever you can throw away from your paycheck every week, put that in to Square Cash, buy Bitcoin, just keep it in there. It's a way of compounding your savings. Because if, say, you squirrel away $100 a week, in 5 years' time, that's going to be worth, however, without a calculator, it's going to be worth whatever. Except, like you mentioned about the inflation that's going to be happening and how, the Fed policy has been like, inflation, schminflation. That your money's actually going down. You're actually only squirreling away, $98, $97, $96 a week, even though it's 100 of your dollars that you worked for.
Exactly.
But if you put away $100 in Bitcoin, like you said, over the course of at least 4 years, it's going to be worth more than what you came out of your paycheck. And that isn't get rich quick. That isn't hitting a lottery ticket.
No,
that's
smart investing.
Just smart investing in a deflationary system. It's taking money that you earn in an inflationary system and putting it into a deflationary system. And it takes a while to understand that. And like, it's really taken me years of reading, listening to podcasts, talking to people to really get that part of like how the economy works. And to answer the second part of the question there, of how is it's different than stocks are not deflationary at all. In fact, they're inflationary as fuck. And that's where we're seeing the inflation right now. All the money that the government has printed and devalued our dollar. And if you look at like, Forex trading and stuff like that, like the dollar is doing bad right now because of that. Stocks are going up though, because that's where that money's going into.
They're being propped.
And so there's a lot of similarities in the markets because of market psychology, but there's two completely divergent ideologies between a crypto market and a stock market, and that is deflation versus inflation. And that takes a little research to figure it out, but once you do, like you can't unsee it. And another area though that I was just thinking of how stocks and crypto is different is that stocks are just a share of a company. It doesn't do anything. You can't go to a store and so it's just pure speculation to where with crypto, and possibly more with altcoins that are a product that they're trying to develop. They're the utility of that product. It's like, I mean, I can't think of a situation in stocks where it's the same thing where you own a piece of the company, like you actually own the working part of the company. And if you're speculating on the value of it, you're speculating on how valuable this company is going to be. Right. And that's a lot different than stocks,
That's a lot different. And, when you own a Bitcoin or whatever crypto, let's stick with Bitcoin. When you own a Bitcoin or a piece of one, you're in a ecosystem that has utility. So one, you can buy stuff with it, right? You can also sign messages with your private key. So when you have Bitcoin on a wallet that you control, not on an exchange, you have your device has generated a public and private key pair. You always keep the private to yourself, and you can issue the public key all over the world, and anyone who shoots messages into that public key, you receive on your end. And it doesn't move. It's kind of hard to explain, but your wallet is really just a web browser type device. It's just looking at the blockchain, and it can manipulate a piece of the real estate with your private key. Well, when people send messages towards your public key, you can decrypt those messages with your private key. And those messages in Bitcoin are typically value transfers. You can also encode stuff like diplomas onto the Bitcoin blockchain. You can drop messages into it. You can do all sorts of weird, funky. There's all sorts of data. There's the entire white paper for Bitcoin is encoded on the Bitcoin blockchain. Anyone can read it today, and you can do some really funky things. You can do stuff like you could encrypt or hash like a key bit of data. Maybe it's like some device that you want to patent, right? And you've taken a picture of it, and you encrypt that picture, and then hash that picture, and then you encode that right onto the blockchain. Well, now there's this timestamp on it, and if you look at the Satoshi white paper, there's like an entire section on nothing but timestamping. Timestamping is like a huge big deal in crypto. So now I can go back and go, look, this hash is a unique fingerprint of this picture of this device, and if I change one bit on this picture, the hash won't come out. So I have to have the exact picture, and you can't reverse it. You can't go from a hash back to a picture. So you can do all sorts of weird, freaky things with Bitcoin. One of the real quick thing is with dollar cost averaging on Bitcoin, there is a website called DCABTC.com, dollar cost averaging BTC.com. And if you invested $10 weekly, so that's $40 a month for 3 years, starting in October 2017, you would be up 72% right now. Your total investment would be $1,570, and your total return would be $2,711. And that's not so bad. You'd have 22 million Satoshis, and the goal is to have 1 Satoshi per dollar. Every time I look at my Satoshis, I think of that. When someone pays me, a couple, 100,000 Satoshis for, I do tutoring online, a couple 100,000 Satoshis, I'm looking at that going, one day that's going to be a couple $100,000. And, it may not be in my lifetime, but, you never know. I mean, if we have massive inflation, it could happen.
Yeah. Well, but then the real question becomes how many Satoshi, what's the minimum Satoshi wage per hour? That's how humans all value, money. Yeah. But I was thinking too, when you were mentioning about the public and private keys, that's another big difference between stocks is how do you own stocks? Through a stockbroker or an app? Is there audits on how many stocks are out there and what, are they cooking the books? Is there a Bernie Madoff scheme going on? There's a lot of fuckery that goes around in stocks. Sure. And do you actually ever own it? And that goes back to what Ridgeback was saying about getting your coins off of the exchange into a hardware wallet. That's the only way that you actually have them. And if you want to go another step, if you run a full Bitcoin node, that's the only way that you can actually audit it yourself and make sure those coins are real. To where you can't do that in the stock world. Maybe back in the 1800s when you actually had a piece of paper and and like you robbed a stagecoach to get it or whatever. Like right. Like that. It is the only getting physical metal of gold and silver and stuff like that in bars and having it in your hands. Like the only other way to get any of these investment vehicles in your hands is crypto on a hardware wallet,
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And the stock market doesn't have anything to rival that security and self sustainability.
No, not at all. And interesting little bit of trivia. When that first $1,200 stimulus check that came out a few months back, had you immediately bought Bitcoin with it, it would be up 73% as of today, and it'd be worth $2,072. So, the dollar value is going downward because the inflation is increasing. The Fed chair already said that, and now and Bitcoin's price is going up, and it seems to be holding itself. So, I mean, it's and here's another little bit of trivia. The best tactic, and we've seen this for 10 years on Bitcoin, is to hold, right? Don't try and day trade it and whatnot. And there's a real famous guy, the guy who owns a Barstool Sports, David Portney. He jumped into crypto and then jumped out like 2 days later because he lost like 1%. He got really mad about it. Well, there's actually a Twitter feed that follows what his wealth would have been because everyone got to watch him live buy it. Had he held, and this only happened like 2 weeks ago. Had he held today, he'd be up 1%. All he had to do was hold, and so buy, hold, and then also put some on the side and then play with it. Pay kids their allowances with it, and because a 12-year-old today isn't, they're going to be using some sort of crypto type money in the future. They probably won't even ever drive a car either. In 10 years, they'll probably all be 20 years. They'll probably all be self-driving cars anyway.
Yeah. So follow up from Joseph said, thanks for the amazing and detailed answers. Any pointers on good learning resources for newbies? I mean, my recommendation is YouTube. I mean, there are some great YouTube channels, but if you're following a channel or find a channel that they're like 600, if it has goofy like writing in the thumbnail and they're like 600x amazing coin nobody knows about, all that, they're just scammers. Like they're pumping and dumping coins. They already bought them. They're hoping you buy them, and then they're going to be like, oh, it's all manipulated. So I think, like, I recommend my favorite YouTube channel I watch almost every day with crypto related, and this is just news. Like, he's not saying, he's not giving trading advice, and you have to separate that posting in crypto. The news is the modern investor, or people call him TMI. I think he does a great job of just kind of condensing down the articles that are out there and kind of giving his kind of macro view, of what's going on. I like guys like that are just giving crypto news to help kind of, spark my own kind of interest in rabbit holes that I go down.
For sure. The best all-time website that has just raw, cleanly, well defined, and I think it's a really well done website with great data is lopp.net, and he has a link up top that says Bitcoin resources, and it's just super cleanly broken down by getting started, setting up wallets, if you want to run a node, the history of it, some news sites, discussion forums, and network statistics, classes, video presentations, podcasts, blogs, Twitter feeds, buying and earning BTC, advanced trading. He's got all sorts of really good stuff on there. And Jameson Lopp is a hardcore Bitcoin crypto guy. I mean, that guy is awesome. I mean, he was a very early he originally took one of the Bitcoin node software, ripped it all apart, put in all of his own logging and metrics and so forth, and then put that back on the network so he could study Bitcoin from the inside out. And now he works for, and I think he's one of the co-founders of Casa. And Casa is a custodial service where if you really don't know what you're doing, you call up Casa and say, hey, I have this Bitcoin. How do I protect it? And they step you through doing what's called multi-signature. And basically, you can have any combination of keys that can unlock your Bitcoin. So one key could be maybe stolen or broken into, right? But if you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 keys and you need 3 out of those 6 keys to unlock the wallet, well, that's a lot more secure. Well, Casa does that for you. They set it up where they have a couple of keys, and even if they have some weird magic where even if Casa like disappeared tomorrow, they can't get your crypto, but you have a way to get into yours. But they're just a custodial service that keeps you safe. And if you have a lot of money, like that guy who just lost 16 million in the Electrum wallet hack yesterday, $16 million worth of Bitcoin. Casa would have been a very good thing for that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, lop.net and click Bitcoin resources. You'll see some really good stuff.
Yeah, I really like Jameson Lopp. I listen to him on a lot of podcasts, and that's what I was going to say too, as far as learning. Podcasts are a great way to really grab your head around it. I mean, I listen to at least one Bitcoin podcast a day. I listen to What Bitcoin Did. I like that's awesome. I like Unchained and Untold Stories with Charlie Shrem, who he's a Bitcoiner from back in the day. And I think he was like the first person to like go to jail for being like a broker, and so he started with like telling stories and like interviewing kind of all the Bitcoin OGs, but it's kind of expanded, and that's a really good podcast. But really, you just gotta like kind of just turn your attention to it and just ingest as much as you can, and the pieces of the puzzle start falling into place, and you just get it, and I don't know. It's there's a lot out there, but if it seems like they're trying to tell you you're going to be rich overnight,
you're not.
They're going to be rich overnight. Awesome.
Exactly. And if you want to practice with crypto, there's actually test nets. Like Ethereum has a test net. I don't know if Bitcoin has a test net, but I don't know if we have access to a Bitcoin test net or not. But Ethereum has a test net where you set up a real Ethereum wallet like MetaMask in your browser, and you click on testnet, and there's a faucet where you can get like $1 billion worth of Ethereum, and you can shoot it around the testnet all day long, play with it. And those testnet tokens don't touch the real network. Or if you want to play with real world crypto, go get some real cheap token like Stellar Lumens. They're super, super cheap, and the wallets for that are really, really good. And it's really, really fast. And, your friend gets a Stellar Lumens wallet, and you get a Stellar Lumens wallet, and you get $3 worth of Stellar Lumens, which is like a couple hundred tokens, and you can zap them back to each other back and forth. And they operate very similar to Bitcoin. Public-private keys, wallet control, security, how to back up your seeds and all that. You can practice on those, and if you lose your $10, it doesn't really matter. And you can practice on those chains first, get your OPSEC set up, understand how you could be tracked or traced and so forth on a public blockchain. So when you send your whatever coin to your friend, make sure you then look that up in the blockchain explorer for that crypto, and then look at the transaction details. It will tell you everything about it. And then understand every piece, like Google every piece of it, understand the transaction ID, the transaction hash, and so forth. So practice on those first, and then when you get comfortable, understanding the bits and pieces, then Bitcoin will be a very, very simple one for you to deal with, because Bitcoin's the easier of them all. All the other cryptos are an extension of Bitcoin or a copy of Bitcoin, and then they add their features and they add complexities like XRP and Stellar Lumens have like this memo field that if you mess up, it can you lose your crypto halfway through the network. It's just weird. So playing with that sort of stuff gets you very, very well trained.
Yeah.
You have to make those mistakes. You have to learn what happens when you cut and paste the wrong address and it goes into nowhere, and you're like, oh, what'd I do? And that happens. So I helped a guy. He moved $200,000 worth of Bitcoin Cash into the Bitcoin SegWit network. Well, those don't play with each other, and it took some really weird reverse mining to get that back out. And the reverse miner took 10% of it for himself.
Yeah.
So weird stuff.
Yeah. So we got another question. From CRC 1024. How does one get hooked up with being paid in Bitcoin? Is there a market like Upwork or something?
I thought there was a Fiverr for crypto. I don't use that. I have a good network of friends, and their kids like to learn computer science. I have a master's degree in computer science, so that's what I do. They just know me, and I say, well, I only accept crypto, and specifically Bitcoin, and I haven't had any problem with anyone going to Coinbase or whatever they want to use, and they buy it and immediately zap it to me. They're not really into investing or whatever, and to them it's just this guy likes weird internet money, and I'm like, that's fine by me, and that's kind of a neat way to dollar cost average. But I'm not aware of any Upwork or Fiverr for crypto. I'm absolutely certain there are, because there's a website called Crypto Cribs, which is an Airbnb that only pays in crypto, which is pretty cool. So I know these things. I know they exist out there somewhere. I'm sure there's some DeFi product that's about some guy listening is like, oh, I'm gonna write a smart contract specifically for this, and that'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that'll only increase where there's apps that like Square Cash will add like an easy feature to just, if you you ran a food truck, you could be like, yeah, I take Bitcoin, I'll give you a 10% discount, whatever, and I think the more that business owners do that learn like, hey, I could just get this, whatever, if it helps, if they're already Bitcoiners and they want to help, like the word out there, and you're already accepting money for things, like just start accepting crypto, and like at the very least, it opens the door for a conversation. And Stan just posted a link, cryptogigs.com. So there definitely is websites.
They're out there. Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah, but like I had an instance. I was in a class last week, and the teacher, when people like got an answer right or knew something that he was asking, he was like, oh, you win $20 or whatever. And then there was someone that had gotten a bunch, and he was like, wow, I owe you like $80. And he was like, and he said something. He was like, it's a good thing these are just virtual dollars, though. Yeah. And everyone was like laughing. And then one dude was like, it's like Bitcoin, or something like that. And people were like, awesome. Kind of had a chuckle about it. But then later, like we were like talking about, this class was like a kind of a expertise qualification thing, and people were like, so what are you going to charge for your qualifications and stuff like that? But because they started that conversation, I brought it back around to that joke, and I was like, I'll probably give like a 20% discount if people pay in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And everyone like kind of chuckled, but then they saw like I wasn't fucking kidding at all, you know? Right. And like and the same guy that made that joke, he's like, why would you do that? And I was like, because that Bitcoin's going to be worth more over a period of time than the dollars would be. And if I don't need the dollars, I'd rather hold the Bitcoin. And like had a conversation about it, you know. So at least even if you're not getting paid in that, it helps Bitcoin. It's good for Bitcoin, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I there's another website, bitgigs.com. You know, they offer Bitcoin type little gigs to make some money. And I prefer the face-to-face. So I was traveling the other day, well, a couple weeks ago, and it was really, really cool because, you know, it's pandemic. We're all wearing masks and blah, blah, blah. And we're standing in the line to go at the airport. And I look over and there's a guy sitting there and he had a black shirt on and had a gold Bitcoin B on it. And I look at him, and he kind of looks at me, and I pull my shirt down. I had a blue shirt with a big Bitcoin B on it, and we looked at each other. And we pointed at each other like we both knew. We both knew. We didn't have to exchange words. We just understood immediately. And I was sitting in first class, so you know I was first on the plane. I sat down, and I was waiting for him to come by. You know, because he was sitting in coach, and you know, he gets on the plane and he walks by me. We'll look at each other again. You know, it's like, you know, it's just you're just nodding your head. I mean, you kind of know intrinsically with other people who also are part of this ecosystem that we have something that other people don't, and It's pretty, even if it went to zero, that, I mean, the likelihood would be low, but there's just so much mass behind it and swirling, interesting technical bits and pieces that are moving very, very rapidly in different directions. And I think that, let's just say the price just went to zero. There's so many geeks and nerds that love the crypto and the weird programming problems and writing smart contracts that they would just build something else, and then that would take off in money, or you know, the value would always be there, or they would have some other thing. I listened to a podcast, two different podcasts, and the interviewees both had the exact same utility in their little token, that their network they're building, and they were both building in parallel. Probably don't even interoperate at all or ever will, but in parallel, they were both building decentralized internetwork layers. So instead of the internet we're running now, you'd throw another layer on top of it, and you would ride that for your content, kind of like the Tor network or whatever, and it'd be super, super decentralized and super, super secure and encrypted, and your anonymity would be guaranteed, and you would use this token to gain entry into the network. And people think, well, if I have to buy this token in order to get into the network, isn't that kind of like some sort of weird Ponzi or pyramid scheme or whatever? You have to think of it this way. If you own any type of network group, and it could be anything. It could be you and your buddies hang out, right? Or and someone else wants to join in the fun. Well, you have to pay to enter. Otherwise, everyone in the world would jump into that pile, and you're going to get a lot of spamming and just painful individuals or people wanting to cause havoc on the network. So you make the entry into the network at least marginally valuable, and so that you don't get just a flood of junk. It'd be kind of like you know how we get a lot of spam email and so forth. Now imagine if an email cost a penny to send, right? The amount of spam would drastically be reduced, because the spammer wouldn't be able to afford sending millions and millions and millions of emails. So it's the same thing. You just have a marginal cost that keeps spam groups and junk flooding your network. And I think those efforts. I think we need more and more and more of those efforts. I think those would be fantastic, and I would love to have 20 or 30 or 40 different weird internets that you can go and explore. You just kind of like a channel on your browser. You would click it to channel 1, and then you go surf your crazy fun weird website on there, and you click it to channel 2 and surf to the other weird crazy network on there. And neither sides know who you are, and those sides don't interact. And I don't know that, I'm a network engineer by trade, so those sorts of things are pretty fascinating for me. And
no, I mean, and you're right there. The Bitcoin network is just as societal and cultural as it is technical. Like that network of you guys seeing each other's shirts, even though you got masks on,
right.
like,
right.
and you were happy to see each other, and you get it, like you're both like, you both have that secret, of like,
Yes.
we know what's going on here, but also, that network, when you're tuned into the news of the network, like I was saying, the podcasts and YouTube channels and websites and stuff like that I would recommend to newbies. Once you start paying attention to that news feed in the crypto network, it's such a like positive, progressive. I mean, other than the infighting of like, your coin's a piece of shit.
Sure.
I mean, there's plenty of that. Don't. I'm not saying that's this utopian wonderland, but there's advancement, there's progression. People are like, yes, this is happening, this is going on.
Right.
Where there isn't a lot of other news feeds in our society that are that. Everything else is all about how everything's breaking down, and everyone that doesn't think like you is a piece of shit. And and like, you got to vote for this guy or we're all gonna die, or whatever. Right. Like that's right. What the news feeds are. And and the crypto news feeds are like, look at this, the excess gas is being used to mine Bitcoin. It's all these like these advancements and progression, and it's a very refreshing reality tunnel to go down. Whether or not it's bullshit or not, maybe I don't know, but it's a much better reality to wake up to.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love going through my little. I have a pile of feeds that I just kind of go through every morning, because crypto is international. So whatever happens in Asia on the other side of the world, while I'm sleeping, could be a major news cycle. And you wake up in the morning, it's like yet another bank in Asia and Japan or whatever now is investing in Bitcoin, or I mean, and it is a constant stream of articles. It's a constant stream of articles. Fidelity, one of the largest ones in America, now has Bitcoin investing for institutional investors. That's crazy. And Forbes just kicked out this article just a couple days ago about how Bitcoin's about to explode in price, because all their analysis says it looks like the Bitcoin now looks like the Bitcoin of 2016. Before it did its 1,000% run up. And these aren't dumb people. These are financial masters, people who understand money and money movement. And it is constantly a stream of positive, interesting technological changes. It's fantastic stuff.
Yeah. I love waking up to an article like that much more than like, this shooter killed this many people in this city during a riot. It's like, I don't know, the kind of like negative societies falling apart stories, like that narrative's just getting boring to me. And it's like, I mean, I love waking up, and like you said about how stuff happens overnight in Asia. Like I've never felt more globally connected until I started into the cryptoverse. And honestly, even if it's something that isn't really that affecting crypto, just because of that international up to the minute news stream that I'm tied into because of that, like I've heard of a lot of stories before most other, people send me texts of links of articles and stuff like, yeah, dude, I saw that a couple days ago, like I'm, and I'm not even like a news hound that's like always like, it's just crypto noticed it first, like we're much more tied into the globe, and it doesn't come through that like filter of like political propaganda that almost every other news story that most news feeds that people follow are in.
Yeah. Here's you bring up a really good point with that, because we worry about fake news constantly, right? Especially on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot, constant stream of fake news. Here's something you can prove to yourself on Bitcoin. When a company like MicroStrategy buys $250 million worth of Bitcoin to be their prime capital in their company, I just go out on the blockchain on the Block Explorer and look up a $250 million buy. Oh, there it is. Boom, done. It's real. Right. I can actually see that happened.
Or the hacks or any of the things.
Yeah, you exactly.
That really happened? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's $16 million that guy lost. Yeah, I go look at it on the Block Explorer. Go, oh, wow, there it is. I mean, it's literally, there's the UTXO for that that movement. I have a Casa Cassius, a physical Bitcoin. It was 25 Bitcoin. I have the address for it, and I won that in a hacking competition years ago, and my teammate put it on MT-Gox, right? And we all know what happened there. I got hacked and we lost it. And I look at that UTXO. I have that UTXO. I look at it all the time. I'm like, someone's got my 25 Bitcoin, and I can see it. Yeah. I can literally like bring it up on my screen and put my finger on it and go, there it is. I don't know physically the person, but that's mine. And
has it moved around a lot, or is it?
No, it just moved once.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sat there. Yeah, so whenever they figure out what they're doing with that in Japan, it's going to get auctioned, right? So someone's going to get my Bitcoin, and it would be nice to go knock on their door and go, "Hey, this is mine." Yeah, exactly. This was mine. But yeah, so you can see truth, which is really neat. And real quick, going back, someone was COC was mentioned about getting paid in Bitcoin. Just as an example, there's a guy advertising on CryptoGigs.co. He needs someone just to test his website. It's a beta website. He's paying 0.0025 of a Bitcoin. That's a decent amount of Bitcoin. That's a pretty solid amount. I mean, the goal is to get to 1 Bitcoin. If you have 1 Bitcoin, you're like a 0.5%er in the world, and 0.0025 is a nice start. So if you can test a website, and anyone can test a website, that's decent cash. Go for it. I highly recommend that. Go for it. And I think what is that, $100 or something? Good enough.
Yeah.
So that's solid. I mean, heck, I might dig through some of these and do it.
I know, yeah. I'll definitely check these websites out for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's you earn that Bitcoin, and so when that stuff's taxed, legally you have to ask the person who sent it to you for the cost basis, how much it costs them to buy that Bitcoin, and that cost basis gets moved to you. And then you can mark that down on your taxes. So keep that in mind when you do these gigs. And IRS just literally today or yesterday kicked out an instruction on microeconomic gigs for crypto, and they said you're not sliding out of the taxes on that. So they're watching, and they know what's going on. So. Pay your taxes and they pay your protection fee, and they will leave you alone. You can still play your Bitcoin all you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's good stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Well, we're getting kind of late here. Wrap it up, but always great talking to you, and I definitely appreciate your presence on our Discord server, and you're one of my favorite people that there's a whole list of people, when I see different links, like I'm like, oh, I got to share that. But there's definitely a lot where I'm like, oh, I hope Ridgeback hadn't seen this one yet. But usually you have. But I definitely appreciate our back and forth. I love talking to you, man. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, you bet, and jump on the Discord if you guys need any help or whatever. I'm always on there. I work from home, so the browser window up is always up. So I'm always on the Discord, and I'm always there to help. And if you want to shoot crypto back and forth as a practice, cheap little cheapy coins like Stellar Lumens or whatever, yeah, we can do that and just get you practiced up. So, and if you need help setting up a hardware wallet or whatever, that's no big deal. It's easy to do over the internet. So yeah, I can help anyone with that. It's not a problem.
Oh yeah.
Cool.